My store has so many unique mirrors. I was loving these double mirrors. I think they're so pretty. Now these are $40 each. Then I spotted, this was over there. I pulled it up. I spotted this mirror. Actually, I'm not sure how much this is. Okay, there's no price on it. It's a fake wood, but I love the caning on it. So I'm thinking if I could remove the picture to make it be a mirror again, could I do some kind of faux wood stain on here to make it look like a cane mirror? Let's try it out. The first thing that drew me to this mirror was the caning around the edge. You see mirrors like this all the time that are pretty expensive. So I wanted to try to bring this mirror back to life. I did have to remove the painting that was on the mirror. I applied some Goo Gone and then using a scraping tool, I scraped off the paint. I took off the excess with a paper towel. I did a few coats of this and then I came in with some Dawn dish soap. This did a great job to kind of finish up and remove any excess paint. I let this sit and dry. So I wanted to mimic the look of wood on this because it was a plastic. It looks like wood, but it's actually a plastic mirror. I taped around the mirror and then I also covered the inside of the mirror so I didn't get any paint on the mirror while I was painting. I found this paint by Country Chic. It's the color Driftwood and it's a chalk paint. I did 2 coats of paint on the mirror, drying in between each coat. Now to give it more of a wood appearance, I'm gonna be using a dark brown color and I'm gonna be using a broom from Dollar Tree. I'll place the edge of my broom into the paint and wipe off any excess, and then I'll just sweep it along the mirror. This is going to give me kind of a cool brush stroke look. You can do as little or as much as you like. Now, after you're done adding the brown, you're going to want to come back in with that driftwood because in some areas you'll probably add too much brown and that driftwood will just mute it down. Let it dry, remove your tape, and here's how the mirror turned out. Now there's actually another one that I want to pick up. I feel like the shape on this mirror is so unique. I absolutely love it. I may do a little DIY on it, but it's really pretty much going to look perfect in my house. This one is $39. One thing I noticed about this gold mirror was it actually had some green around the edging, and I wasn't sure if that's something that happened over time. I kind of liked the antique look that it gave to it. Now it did have some chipping in some of the corners, so I wanted to add some gold rub and buff just to kind of smooth it out and bring it back to life. For this next DIY, I wanted to show you how you could make outdoor Pottery Barn style lamps for your space. From Dollar Tree or your local thrift store, you're gonna wanna pick up a variety of glass vases. You could also use a pottery vase piece if you found something that you liked at the thrift store. You're also going to need lampshades for each of your vases. You could buy them at the thrift store or from around your house. With my 3 glass vases, I painted them in a variety of neutral colors. I went with some creams and browns. I just picked some spray paints that I liked. I also wanted some of my vases to have a textured finish. So I used a textured spray on one of the vases, and then on the other one, I added in a stone finish. I wanted them all to be neutral, but definitely have a lot of texture. So once those dry, I needed to add on my solar lights and lampshades. And I have to say, with each one, I did them a little bit different depending on what the lampshade looked like. So I'm gonna show you how to do each one. Now for all of the vases, I did add rocks to the bottom just to weigh them down since they're going to be outside. So the problem you're gonna run into when you add on the lampshade is that it's going to come down a little bit farther, too far actually, and you're gonna wanna have it up a little bit higher. So for the first one, I found a ring that I had in my craft room and I hot glued that on the inside of my vase. This was a great support piece for me to put the lampshade down, and I just hot glued it in place and held it in place till it was dry. I did have to add in some additional rocks before adding in the solar light. From there, I could add in the solar light. For the smaller vase, I had a smaller lampshade, but I made a support system using popsicle sticks. So I just hot glued those 4 on there, cutting them down so they didn't hang over the edge. And then my lampshade could fit on top. From there, I just added in my solar light. So for my third vase, I did this one a little bit different based on the lampshade that I had. I actually decided to hot glue the entire solar light into the interior of the lampshade. I felt like this would hold it in place better. So I added hot glue, let that dry completely, and then I took the entire solar light and placed that down into the vase that had rocks inside. This held it a lot better. You could add additional hot glue if you like, or add in more supportive rocks. So as you can see, each of these lamps is going to be a little bit different, but I just feel like they add such a homey touch to an outdoor space. And if you're lucky enough to have a screened-in porch, I think this would be so pretty on your porch. I found these tiles. Now, typically you would see these on your backsplash in your kitchen or your bathroom. We're gonna get 2 of these for a DIY. Now I bought several tiles. This first tile was a multi-tile and they ended up being a little bit more expensive. These tiles were $6 each. So I bought 2 for this vase project. One tile wasn't long enough to create a vase, so I knew that I needed to add 2 tiles together. So to do this, I was kind of going back and forth on how to connect these 2 tiles. I had this product called Pull Wrap, and they sell it at most big box stores, but what this product does is it bends, and I thought maybe that would help it curve around the base that I want to do. So I E6000 the Pull Wrap to the 2 tiles to connect them. Then I put a ton of E6000 on the back of the tiles. And I wrapped it around my glass vase. To hold it until it had a chance to dry, I wrapped it with some painter's tape. One of my tiles fell off that was connected to the pull wrap, so I did E6000 that tile back on, and then I wrapped it with some additional painter's tape and let it dry overnight. Now, when I was at the Restore, I found some grout for $5. That's what I'm gonna put in between the tiles. So I just mixed my grout with some water in a bowl till it was more of a kind of thick pudding consistency. So I used this large popsicle stick to put the grout in between the tiles. I wanted to push as much grout in between the tiles without getting it all over my tiles because I knew I was going to have to wipe away the excess. Once I had that in-between area covered, I came back in and tried to remove as much of the grout as possible. Then I used a wet paper towel and a wet microfiber towel to pull off any excess grout. Once you have all of the grout removed from your tiles, you want to let this set again overnight so that it can dry completely. Now the next day, if you need to add more grout, you can. I felt like my vase looked pretty good. And then you can just add in some of your favorite florals. These are florals that I picked up at Pop Shelf. I love how they look in this vase. It's so cute. I love having it out. Now don't forget to check the book section as well. I always look here for hardcover coffee table books. That seems to be the best deal. I was able to find 2 coffee table books. Both were $3. The first one had great subject matter and I loved the blue color of the book. I also found this Schitt's Creek book that's gonna be perfect for my coffee table. One of my best tips at the thrift store is to buy larger items. You can save so much money. Like this tray I found, $15 for this tray. This would be so much more at a high-end site and it's gonna look great on my coffee table. So I've been walking around and I'm seeing several decor items. Now, when you're at the thrift store, I think it's a great idea to look for useful decor. First up, I found this basket. Love the way it looks. I don't need to do anything to it. This would be perfect in my living room to hold all of my remotes. And that was just $2.
Okay, I said it didn't need anything, but once I was looking at it, I thought, you know what, this could use a quick refresh. So I found a stain that was similar to the color of the basket, and I'm simply going to add some stain. I used a foam brush to wipe it on the entire basket. And then I'll use a paper towel to take off any excess. The basket practically looks brand new. Okay, let me show you how you could style this on your table or coffee table. Start with a tray, that one I picked up at the thrift store. Then you're gonna add some large coffee table books. I bought those 2 at the thrift store. Next, you can add in some sort of useful decor, like the remote holder. This was only $2 and it's gonna be functional and beautiful.
All right, so I've been on the hunt for blue and white items. This $5 dish I want to turn into a pedestal tray. At my thrift store, they group like items together. So there's all these blue and white items over here. So it makes it really easy to find kind of what you're looking for if you're going for a specific theme. My thrift store has a ton of kitchen items and these are the perfect containers to use to create trays. So I found this little dish here. It's $2, but I'm gonna use this as a supportive base for my tray.
I really wanted to feature this blue plate in my kitchen. So I'm gonna take that clear base. I thought about painting it, but then I figured, you know what? I love the clear. It just looks so pretty. I added some E6000 to the top of the clear container, and then I placed the plate on top. This is great to set out with any of your scrub brushes or your soaps.
So I know it's gonna be a good trip. The first thing I saw when I walked into the thrift store was this pair of chairs, 2 chairs, $79. You guys, these are already in pretty good shape. They have a little bit of wear on them, but I definitely think I can clean them up and DIY them.
So if you have a chair that's been stained and it's showing some wear and tear, just go in with a matching stain color, of course if you like that color, and using a paper towel, I'm just going to add some stain to where it's been worn off. This is really easy to do. You don't have to sand anything, just add in additional stain. I'm gonna do that on the entire chair, and I'll repeat this on both of my chairs. Once my stain had dried, it was time to move on to my upholstery. And I have to say this upholstery was in pretty good condition, but I used my Bissell little green machine. I will link it for you down below. It's perfect for small jobs like this, or you can use it on your stairs. I used the Bissell to clean both chairs and it made such a big difference. You would have never guessed I bought both of these chairs for $40 each. Now I have to tell you, with this next DIY, I was not sure if this was gonna work. It ended up working great, so I'm really excited to show it to you. Now at the Restore, they also sell so many different chandeliers that people drop off and they really don't want. And a lot of people don't buy them because they're heavy and they, take up a lot of room. So all of the chandeliers at my Restore, they sell for $5. So I found this one, I picked it up. So the first thing I did was I needed to clean it off a little bit. And then I went in and removed the globes and all the lights that were left on this chandelier. So my idea was, could I make this an outdoor chandelier using solar lights? So that's what I'm attempting to do. So the first thing I did was spray paint it with a matte black spray paint. And I tried hanging it up, but that didn't work. So I ended up just having to kind of put it on its side outside to spray paint. So I spray painted one side, trying to get all the different areas, let that dry, and then I actually twisted it and spray painted it some more. I think I did this a total of 3 times to get it completely covered with the black spray paint. Next, I actually cleaned all the globes because they were kind of dirty. Then I added the globes back on and then put that little piece that kind of holds the globes in place on. All right, the solar lights I'm gonna be using are black traditional solar lights from Dollar Tree, and I'm gonna take off the bases to the solar lights. And I'm gonna use a combination of hot glue and E6000 in where you would put the light bulbs for the chandelier. I'll put those in there and I'll just hold them in place until it's completely dry. I repeated that with each one of the little globes. I had 9 total. You can hang this from your deck. You can also hang it on a tree outside, but I think it makes a gorgeous chandelier at night.
So we're over here in the glassware section. A tip you can do when you're at your store thrifting is check your glassware before you go to the store and buy brand new glassware. Oftentimes you're gonna find something so much cooler like this ombre set that I just found, and it's gonna be more affordable than buying it new. My thrift store does this cool thing where they divide things up by color. So over here in the dinnerware section, there's this whole area of blue items, which is my favorite color. I found these 2 containers. I have to get them, you guys. This one, it's $5, but it's a little vanity container. And then I also found this little dish for only $2. How adorable are these gonna look together? So I'm getting ready to film a bathroom video where I'm gonna DIY a bunch of bathroom items, and I found these in the canister section for just a couple of dollars. They're really cool. I think they would be perfect in the bathroom. So I was over here looking at all the curtains. That's something I always do at the thrift store. This is a great place to find fabric because it's really inexpensive and you can recover things. I'm not seeing anything, but I did spot these curtain rings that are these really large, like wood rings. I use these all the time in my crafts. This is a big pack for $4.
You never know what you're gonna find at the thrift store. I wanted to add some new knobs to these containers. When I was searching around, I found these really cool curtain rings that I thought I could use as handles. So what I did was I took the screws out of the knobs that were on the top pieces. Then I used the existing screws and then put the handles into the existing screws. This was easy to do because they had a screw that was already in there, so I just took that out and replaced it. I did this with both of the containers. These are great to use in your bathroom to store cotton balls and Q-tips.
So I was actually shopping at the Restore for another video that I'm working on, and I came across this lamp. I absolutely loved the lampshade. I've seen similar floor lamps on sale for over $100. So when I saw this, I knew I had to pick it up. I removed the lampshade. I taped off the cord at the base. And then I spray painted it a black matte color just to give it a really sleek look. Now with that lampshade that was so good, I did have to paint it. So using a brush, I came in with a beige color and painted the entire lampshade. If you need to paint inside of your lampshade, you can do that as well. Once everything's dry, I added it. This was only a $10 lamp from the Restore, but it looks so much more expensive.
If you've made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. Comment the word of the day, which is thrifting.
If you like a vintage look, here's an option you can try. Use one of the white stools and you're going to, again, take off all the plastic. I'm going to remove those black feet at the bottom. Then you want to go to your local thrift store and find a tray that you love, something that really speaks to you. I found this silver tray. I thought it was adorable. And the only criteria that you need to have is the tray needs to be wider than your stool for this project. But it's so easy to put this together. All you have to do is add a little bit of E6000 to the top of your tray and then place your tray on top. Let it dry for 24 hours and then the next day you can style it in your home. It makes a great side table.
crystal vases at the thrift store can be really pricey. We saw some that were like $30, $40. Then we spotted this one and it had an as-is sticker. It's so pretty down here. There's just one problem. It has like a little chip back here, but what if we put this to the back and this one's only $12?
Now this clear vase is absolutely gorgeous. I love that I was able to get it as an as-is discount because once I put the florals in here, you're not gonna be able to tell that it has a chip on it. These I picked up in a pack off of Amazon. I'm gonna link them for you because I'm sure you're gonna wanna pick them up as well. Now I took all of the florals out and kind of fluffed them really well. I didn't cut the ends of the florals, I just bent them up. That way if I wanna use them in a larger vase, I have that option later. I put the florals in there and then just moved them around till I was happy with them. I think they look gorgeous sitting on this cabinet. For my outdoor space, I wanted to try to recreate my own solar globe. So to do this, I went to the thrift store and bought a fishbowl. These are pretty common at your local thrift store and you'll spend a lot less buying it there than if you get it at Walmart. So I wanted to paint pour this globe. I felt like that would be the best way to get that really cool finish on the edge. So to set up my workstation, I put a tub that was kind of a tub that I use for painting. Then I needed something to support the dome so it was off the ground. So I found a glass container. Then I put my bowl on top. Now for my paints, I'm gonna be using some paint pour paints from Dollar Tree. I'm also using some from Hobby Lobby because I like a lot of the blue colors and Dollar Tree doesn't have all of those pretty blue colors that I can find at Hobby Lobby. So I'm gonna start with a container and the first thing I'm gonna add in is pouring medium. This is something you can buy at Hobby Lobby. It helps your paints to run more smoothly and it's definitely a step that makes paint pour a lot easier. So I'll add in a little bit of paint pour, about half a cup. And I'm just gonna add in my paint colors. And when I'm doing this, I like to think of layers. So if you add in a blue, maybe go in with a white. If you add in a darker color, go in with a lighter color, just to give a little bit of variation because when those paint pour colors go out on your vase, you wanna have a lot of dimension. Once you have your paints in your cup, you're gonna start paint pouring. So I'm going to drizzle them starting at the top and letting the paint fall down the edges. Now you're going to notice that some areas aren't covered. You just want to come in and add additional paint. Now another problem you might run into is maybe when the paint is coming down, you're not really a fan of one of the colors. So I usually like to do a second paint pour. So I'll go back in and I'll leave out those colors. So I was noticing I didn't really like the gold cream color. So the next time I did the paint pour, I just left that color out. Sometimes you don't even really notice the colors that you like or don't like until you see them on your paint pour. But that's the cool thing. You can continue to add colors until you're happy with it. And you definitely want to make sure that every bit of your paint pour piece is covered. Now you're going to have to let this sit for at least 24 hours because I've noticed with paint pour that it does take a little bit longer to dry because in some areas it's a little bit thicker paint. The next step you want to do is take it outside and seal it with a matte finish or something that's going to keep it protected so that your paint will stay on your piece when it's outside. Now to bring in the solar lights, if you had a solar light that would just sit down, you could use that, but I didn't have anything like that. I had these other solar lights, so I needed to create something that I could put underneath my dome or my bowl here. So I had a terracotta pot and I cut down a piece of foam that I put inside. Next, I used 2 solar lights and pressed them into this container. Now this doesn't have to look good because it's going to go underneath my bowl. And I'll set that down outside, put my bowl on top, and here's how it looks at night.
My store has this huge wall of chairs and I'm always on the lookout for vintage style chairs that'll fit in well with my decor. This cane one is awesome. It needs a little bit of updating, but it's only $24.
I felt like this chair was amazing. I absolutely loved the color of it, but when I looked up close, I could see the wear and tear, areas where it had been chipped. So a quick fix you can do for any chair like this is to use a gel stain. When you apply gel stain, you don't even have to sand it down first. I just found a gel stain that was a similar color to the stain that was on my chair, and I applied it to any worn down area. And I think it really brought this chair back to life.
I just spotted these cool scallop plates. They're only $2 each. I definitely need this in my life.
With my scallop plate, I wanted to paint the underside of it, so I mixed a beige color sample paint with some baking soda. And I'll apply one coat to the base. I'll let that dry, and then I did need to come back and add a second coat. Once that's completely dry, I wanted to add a little bit of detail around the edging. So I found this deep gray color that I had, and I'll just apply that to the edge. Now you could use this as a plate to set items on. I actually used it in a grouping in my pantry.
What is this? It's like a marble box. That is different. I don't know what this is, but I'm getting it. You guys, it's wood slat on a piece of fabric. I have no idea what I'm gonna make with this, but I'm getting this. You know, at my store, there's tons of lamps. I always like to look on Pottery Barn's website for inspiration before we shop at the thrift store, and I found this gold one that has the exact same shape to this lamp. That's my tip. Look for the exact same shape in the lamp you're trying to recreate, and you can always paint it any color you like. So this is the perfect shape. We're gonna get this one and paint the base of it, but we need to do better for the lampshade. So let's see if we can find a lampshade. We need to try some different lampshades. Over in like the lampshade section, there was 2 different ones. Let's try them both and see which one looks best. Okay, that one's pretty good. I feel like this one's in good shape. We'll just need to paint it. Okay, so that's option 1. Let's see if this one, oh, this one's kind of the wrong kind. It has a different, I don't even know what you call this section of the lampshade. I feel like this one looks really modern. So I'm gonna walk around and see if I can find anything else, but I feel like this is a good option.
Okay, let's DIY this lamp. If you've never DIY'd a lamp, it's really easy to do. I'm gonna show you step by step how you want to do this. First, you wanna cover up any area of your lamp that you don't want painted. I like to add a plastic sack over the top portion, and then I'll just close it off with some painter's tape. I typically do the same thing with the cord because I don't want that to get painted. Next, I'm going to spray it with 2 coats of a metallic spray paint. Remember that Pottery Barn image I was showing you earlier? I want to go with a gold finish. Now, the lampshade that we purchased has seen better days. It definitely needed some updating. So I have a white paint. This is just a sample paint that I've been using, and I am going to paint the entire lampshade. If you didn't know, you can paint lampshades. It's actually really easy to do. As I was painting, I was kind of wishing I would have used a stipple brush, but I kept going with the paintbrush that I had. So if you have a stipple brush, use that instead and just do 1 heavy coat on the entire lampshade. Once everything's dry, you can take off the bag and the tape and then just add on your lampshade. How gorgeous. It completely looks like a Pottery Barn lamp.
So if you're going thrifting, what shapes should you be looking out for? Well, again, you can go on those high-end sites and look for them. I think ones that look in a simple ceramic shape are always great. You can add paint to these, spray paint them, or use your acrylic paints. At my thrift store, there's a basket section, but it was really busy over there, so we came over in the books to film this. I found this cool piece. I don't even know what it is, but I think this is going to make a better topper on my plant stand. You guys remember I picked this up for $3, but I think this one's gonna look so much cooler.
Okay, stick with me on this DIY because I definitely had a vision. So I saw this bottom part as a base to my plant stand. So I determined how high I wanted it to be and marked it with some painter's tape. Then I cut it down with my saw. Next, I'm going to add E6000 and hot glue to put the base together. I'll overlap the pieces and then I'll set it up in the shape that I like, and I'm gonna let it dry for several hours. next I'm going to paint the base. I went with a mauvey pink color and I did 2 coats on the base. Now with the top piece, I wanted to stain this a little bit because it was more of a natural wood and I wanted to use a stain. I sanded down any marks on it. I'm going to be using the color Fruit Wood. I put it on with a foam brush and then I wiped off any excess with a paper towel. I attached the base by putting E6000 around the top, and then I placed the wood piece on top. I flipped it over and added in some additional E6000 and I let it dry overnight. The next day, I styled it in my home.
I also found this little dish. You could use this for putting your trinkets, jewelry, really anything in here. And then I found this smaller dish that you could put maybe beside your kitchen sink or your bathroom sink to put your rings in when you're washing dishes. So I want to make a tray for my coffee table and I love the shape of these. Now I can't decide which one I want to get. Are we going to go with the white marble or should we change it up and go kind of with this black gray marble? Let me know which one you guys would pick, the white or the gray. I think I'm going to go gray.
There are so many good tiles at my restore. These gray ones, love the size of them. I picked up 6 to do a tray with. Now each of these tiles were only $1 each. Great deal. And I'm going to be using these long wood pieces that you can pick up at Dollar Tree. They're $1.25 each. And for this project, I'm going to need 3. Next, I put those 3 wood boards down and I'm going to be using E6000 and hot glue to place each of the tiles down. I'm going to start on one end, place one down and go all the way down to the other end. Now you do need to let this dry overnight so that E6000 has time to really bond. On the edges, I'm going to be using a gray paint to paint the edges and finish it off because these tiles are unfinished. And then to give it some handles, I have this like tub where I have all these different handles. So I just found these 2 gold handles. I think they were from a previous project and I'm gonna E6000 those to the edge of my tray. I did measure them to make sure that they were about the same distance on either side, but honestly, they don't have to be perfect. And here's how this tray turned out. I absolutely love it.
Most thrift stores have these craft sections and they're great because you can find things affordably. And what my favorite part is like I have several hoops like this, but I do not have these vintage ones in this oval shape. Let's see, they're selling these for $2 each. These are so great to organize with. I'm gonna show you an awesome DIY to try out. I'm over in the clothing section looking for a sweater that I can use with those hoops we just found to make a jewelry organizer. I feel like this white one would be a great option, so let's DIY.
Now you want to make sure with this DIY that you just find a piece of fabric that's big enough that it's going to cover both of your rings. So I'm going to put one of my rings on one side and then I'll just press the top piece down, pulling it as tight as possible. Then from there, I'm just going to flip it over and cut off any excess once I have it in place exactly where I want it to be. I'll repeat these steps on both of the hoops. You can hang these on a nail on your wall and they're perfect for earrings.
I found this print, it's $15. I like the subject matter. I'm not really a fan of the frame, but I could always change that. It's a really nice print.
I'm trying to go with more of a traditional look in my house. Some of the times when you pick up gold frames, you may or may not like the color of that frame. I wasn't a big fan of the color of the frame, so I'm gonna add some gold rub and buff to the edges. This is a great neutral color, and I also wanted to add some depth to the frame as well. Technique you can do to add depth is to come in with a black rub and buff. That's gonna bring out any detail in your frame.
let's get this $2 candle holder and turn it into a mini lamp. Now I'm over here in the metal candle items and I found this guy and I was thinking maybe this would be better for my lampshade idea. I'm not really sure. So I'm gonna take both of these over to the mini lampshades and see which one's gonna work better. I think this beige colored lampshade is the winner for $2 and I like it on the $2 candle base.
Now for this little lamp that I wanted to create, I did have to go online on Amazon and pick up some remote tea light candles. These were really cool. They come in a pack and then you just use a remote to turn them on and off. So I placed the tea light candle into this candle and then just placed the lampshade on top. I didn't have to DIY anything. But then if I want to turn it on, I can just use the remote.
I spotted these tiles. I'm gonna get 5 of them for a DIY.
If you've ever bought ceramic planters, they can be really expensive. Have you ever tried making your own with tile? Well, I found these gorgeous tiles. They were square. Again, these tiles were only $1. I think all of their just basic plain tiles were all $1 each. So I bought 4 to create a planter. You want to use E6000 because that's going to give you the strongest bond. And I like to kind of put it on a platter or a plate so that I can move it. Honestly, for me, it's just so I can go on to my next project. But I'm going to put E6000 on the edges of 2 of the tiles. And then I'm going to place the other tiles in so that on the front, I just see that one tile, and then on the back, I see that one tile, if that makes sense. Now you do need to hold this in place. So what I like to do is just get something that's weighted down on either side and just place it down. I was using some planters. I think I had some tubs of spackling, and you just want to place that down so it has a chance to set up and dry. And that's all you really have to do. And then you can just place your plant down inside.
I never pass up the basket section because I feel like baskets just add so much warmth anywhere in your house. So I was looking through all of them. This was the one that I think I want to pick up. It's very unique. They have it priced at $4, but I definitely think this is going to look good in my home.
If you have an old floor lamp sitting around your house, you can turn it into an outdoor solar post. Let me show you how. So I had this one that I was going to try to work with and create a solar light. The one I'm using in today's video is from the thrift store. So I'm going to remove the lampshade, and then I'm also going to cut off any electrical. Now the solar light that I'm going to be using, I actually found at Walmart. I feel like it does a great job of looking like a post. Now, it would be wonderful if this light would fit directly in my base, but that was not the case here. So I had to kind of build up a base for this. So I went around my craft room. I was looking for different things that I could use, and I had these little wood rings. They were too small. I ended up finding Dollar Tree shower rings, and they fit perfectly. So that's what I'm going to use around the top here. So using a combination of E6000 and hot glue, I'm going to build up a base with my shower rings until when I put in the top piece, it sits perfectly. Once I had the shower rings in place, I decided to spray paint the entire piece a matte black spray paint. Once the spray paint was dry, I used E6000 and hot glue to add in my solar light to the top of the post. And here's how it turned out.
I've been seeing this dark furniture all over Pottery Barn's site, as well as some of the high-end stores. Take a look at this tile. I love the brown colors. This is very in this year, and it's huge. I'm gonna turn this into a table. I've been walking around looking for some legs to create a table with. Now I spotted these and we looked them up online. They're actually a wood replacement handle for a tool. They're $5 each, so we're gonna pick these up as leg bases.
I measured one of my other side tables to see about how tall it was, so I knew kind of the height to make the legs. I marked each of the legs where I wanted to cut them down. Then I used my miter saw to cut the legs down to size. Now from there, I wanted to sand them down because I was going to restain them. So I just used my orbital sander and sanded down all 4 of the legs. I also needed a wood piece to act kind of as a tabletop. So for my tabletop, in one of my previous projects, we did a whole butcher block countertop for a desk and 2 shelves in my office makeover. And we had to cut off the back half of that. So I have a bunch of scrap butcher block, and I thought that would be perfect for this project, and it's amazing wood. But you could use any wood that you have on hand or get some scrap wood at the Restore. So I cut my wood down to size. I wanted it to be about 1 inch shorter than this really cool brown tile that I found when I was shopping at the Restore. And the tile is actually what's going to go on the top of this table. Next, I need to attach my legs to that butcher block top. So to do this, I'm gonna be using these cabinet screws. They are a little bit longer. You can pick them up at any big box stores. So I'm gonna mark where I want to drill holes in the 4 corners of my butcher block. I'm also going to drill a hole in the center of my legs. Then using the cabinet screws, I'm going to screw it down from the top and then making sure that I screw the legs underneath. Now the screws you will be able to see on the top of the butcher block, but don't worry because we're going to cover it with the tile. I'm going to do this on all 4 corners. Now before I added on the tile, I wanted to stain the wood pieces. So I'm just gonna be using this natural stain color because I really like the light wood look. So I'm just going to be placing the stain on with a paper towel and at the same time removing any excess. Now for the tile to get it ready, I wanted to paint the edges because the edges of tiles are unfinished. So I had this espresso brown color and I'm just gonna use a foam brush and paint it all around the edge, and I'll let that dry. Once that dried, I added some E6000 to the top of the butcher block and then placed the tile on. I let it dry overnight, and here's how it looks in my home.
All right, I just spotted this vase over here. It's only $3, but I'm gonna paint it and put it in a grouping.
So I wanted to put 2 potted plants together. I found this one that was a little bit more expensive, but if I find something that I just really love at the thrift store, I think about, okay, if I bought that new, how much would that be? So I ended up getting it even though it was a little bit more pricey. And then I also found this clear container. Now with the clear container, I did spray paint it with a color called Sand Dollar. If you guys don't have Sand Dollar, pick it up. It's one of my favorite spray paint colors and I use it in so many projects. But I'm gonna spray the underside, let that dry, and then flip it over and spray the top. I picked up some plants at Walmart for this project, but they were a little small, so I did add some rocks to the bottom before I put the plants in. I have to say, I think this next project is probably my favorite DIY. In this whole video, you'll have to let me know what you think. So have you ever been shopping at the Restore or any thrift store and you see these globe lights that you use in different chandeliers? Well, they sell them for so inexpensive. My Restore sells these for $1 each. So I bought these brown ones. Now, one of the trends that's really popular right now is mushrooms, especially in outdoor decor. So I wanted to turn these globes into mushrooms for my outdoor space. So I bought the black traditional solar lights. These are the ones you see most often at your Dollar Tree. And I'm going to add some E6000 to the top area of my solar light. Then I'm gonna place it upside down into my mushroom. Because you're using E6000, you need to let these dry overnight. So I repeated those steps with all 5 of my mushrooms. Once they have a chance to dry, now you can just put these in your yard. I think these make the most adorable mushroom decor. When I spotted these hexagon tiles, I knew I needed to come up with a DIY for this, so I immediately thought organization. At Dollar Tree, they have these long dowel rods that they sell in a pack of 2. So I thought, what if I cut those down? So that's what I did. I used my saw to cut down about 3-inch sections. I did this 5 times, and I was going to put those onto my tile. To prep the tile, I did paint around the edges just to finish it off. Measuring to make sure that they were evenly spaced. Then I'm going to use E6000 to put a little bit on the bottom of my dowel rod, and then I'll place it in the center. Then I did the same thing by putting the other dowel rods on either side. I did put a piece of paper underneath just to make sure that they were all about the same distance and level. Again, everything with E6000, let it dry overnight. Then you can put some command strips on the back. Hang this in your closet, and it's perfect for all of your necklaces and bracelets.
Okay, this is so cool. It's just like a wicker circle. I've never seen anything like this. I don't like the color, but we could totally fix that.
I love the look of this decorative wood ball. I did want to darken it up a little bit, so I added some dark stain to it. I let it sit for about a minute before I wiped it off. Now, the cool thing about this is you can continue to add stain until you're happy with the color. So if you need to add 2 coats, you can apply that and just wipe off any excess.
I'm not sure how much these tiles are gonna be. We'll definitely put the price somewhere up here, but you typically find these in your bathroom, maybe on your shower floor. You're not gonna believe the DIY I do with these.
So I bought 6 of these, and my idea was, what if I created a tile rug? So to make this happen, I just used E6000 to connect them together. So I put E6000 on each of the little tiles and then placed a sheet down, and then I would put it on the side, and whatever edges the tiles were needing to connect, I would put E6000 down. So I had 3 tiles on the top and 3 tiles on the bottom. Next, I wanted to create a little fun flower pattern. Using the marker, I colored on the top of 6 tiles going in a circle, leaving the center one white. And I did that kind of staggering them throughout the tiles. This took me a little bit of time because I had to be patient and try my best not to get any of that black marker on some of the other tiles. Now, if you need more marker, if you need the color to be a little bit more saturated, you can come in and do a second coat. I let that dry, and then to make it waterproof, I'm gonna be using a matte Mod Podge on all of the tiles that I colored. So I'll just paint that on with a brush, let it dry, and here's how this rug turned out. You wanna look for a candle holder that has multi-candle slots. Now, I recently spotted these tabletop style candles at Dollar Tree, and I picked up 5 for this project. I started by cleaning the thrifted piece and wiping it down. You're not gonna believe how well these candles fit into my candle holder. It was like it was meant for it. I added E6000 to the edge of the candle holders. And then I placed the candles on top. These are perfect to style on an end table or your outdoor table.
Now we're over here in the lamp section. My thrift store has a ton of lamps. I've been looking for a floor length lamp. I found this one. It has a brass base. I'm gonna update that a little bit, but I love this lamp shade, but I'm not a fan of the color, so we're gonna have to change that as well.
I was so excited to find this floor lamp for $19. I loved the marble table around the base. Now, the first thing I did was I removed the shade, and then the gold brass I felt like looked really great. I kind of like some of that antique look that it had, but it really kind of needed to be refreshed a little bit. So I put a couple of gold rub and buff colors onto a scrap piece of cardboard. I'll add the gold rub and buff to the stem of the base. Now, when you do two different colors, it's going to give you more of a contrast. So I definitely went in with two colors. I love the accordion style of this lamp shade, but it was in rough shape. And if you weren't aware, you can paint your lamp shades. I came in with kind of this ivory beige color, and this is just a sample paint that I picked up at Lowe's. You can get any sample paint made for around $5, and it's a great way to have a specific color to use. I use these in all of my projects. And I'm gonna be going in with a textured brush, and I'll add one coat around the entire lampshade. You can also paint on the interior of your lampshade if it's looking a little bit rough. And I'll do this all the way around, making sure I have everything covered. Let your lampshade dry, and this is how it turned out.
So one of my biggest tips is to go to the thrift store when you have a little bit of time to spend there. I've actually been at this thrift store for 2 hours now, but I find that like going around twice, I see things that I didn't even notice the first time. So really look, and especially I bring Delaney with me. It's great to have another set of eyes because you always miss stuff because there's just so much to look at.